Welcome everyone to my video today. I am Melissa and this is my YouTube channel, Earth Connection. So welcome. So we're going to start a little bit of a series here where I do, we're going to call them tea chats or juice chats, whatever I'm feeling like that day. And today we have this beautiful green smoothie I made and it is absolutely gorgeous. So I'm super excited to sip on this. But this is going to be a series where I sit down and I talk about some of the things I'm passionate about, some of the things that I think are really apparent in our society as struggles that people have. And I think it's really important to create some space to talk about these things that are a little uncomfortable. And this helps in opening up that communication and that understanding and that awareness that we're all kind of on this journey. We all have similar struggles. And if we share these journeys and these struggles with each other, we can begin to help each other to rise up a little bit and to carry on our healing journey a little bit more smoothly. So I think it's really important to share your journey with people. I think this idea that we need to hide and almost be ashamed of the struggles that we have just create more suffering. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about shame. So there is this mentality in our society to be absolutely perfect. Like if you look at Instagram photos and Facebook and everything else, we portray that life is perfect. We don't show the nitty-gritty stuff that people deal with, the ups and the downs. And I'm just as guilty as anyone else for it. I mean, we want to share those beautiful moments with people. We want to share the uplifting moments. It's hard to say, like, I'm having a crappy day. I feel, really poopy today and I don't really want to do anything and I've been so unproductive and I've been sitting on the couch all day. There is this level of shame in showing our struggle. And I think that when we have that shame, we carry that shame, it kind of continues to snowball into these bigger things. So something that is very normal is to have and experience some level of shame. I think the problem comes when how we deal with it. So how do we release the shame? How do we work through the shame? Because I think it's a normal human reaction to do something really shitty and feel crappy about it and to kind of beat ourselves up a little bit about it. And that, I think, is a normal feeling. I think it gets into more of a dangerous reaction when we start to really to sit in it, to sit in that shame and feel really guilty and feel really uncomfortable. And when we sit with it, we perpetuate more shame. So I think that's what ends up happening a lot in addictions and different self-harm. When I say that, I don't just mean physical self-harm, but anything from, not taking care of yourself, not having that self-care. Maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's food, maybe it's burying yourself in your house and hiding away from society. But it perpetuates this uncomfortable seclusion. Like, I'm so disgusted with this whatever happened that I need to hide away and I need to feel shameful about it. I've experienced these levels of shame, and sometimes it's really interesting because sometimes the shame that we think we have isn't even our shame. It's shame that we have picked up from other people in our life, whether that's our parents, whether that's trauma that we went through, whether that's relationships that you have, friendships or romantic relationships. We carry other people's shame. So sometimes it's something that is projected onto us from their own shame. So it's their shame that they're projecting onto us and we end up carrying it. So it's really interesting to sift through when we start to feel these uncomfortable feelings, whether or not it's ours or someone else's. And so I really think that really becoming aware of the shame, becoming aware of that energy and how it feels in your body when you experience it. I think it's like, shame's like anger in the sense that it's very apparent, like you can very much feel it. Anger is a very hard, loud, heavy energy. And shame is this kind of yucky, gross, heavy, energy. And so I think that it's becoming aware of it is the first challenge. And once you become aware, like, okay, this is what I'm feeling shameful. Then you go into, well, why am I feeling this shame? So maybe it is not your shame. Maybe it's projected from someone else's shame. Like somebody did something and then they made you feel like it was your fault or something that you did wrong. And so it's recognizing what is mine and what is someone else's. Like, this isn't my issue, this is their issue. And when you do that and you realize it's their issue, it's a very easy energy to release, because once it happens, it's just like, oh, okay, it's not mine. I can move that energy away. When it's our own shame, when it's something that we've done wrong, we're really upset about or uncomfortable about because we know that we could have made a better decision or we could have done something better. Recognizing it, of course, is the first step. And I think when we talk energy-wise, we carry shame and guilt into our heart center here. So it becomes this really heavy burden into our shoulders, into our chest area, and we just tend to collapse. And so when we feel shame, you always see those movies where they're like, the character feels, even those cartoons where they feel shameful for something and they're like hunched over walking like this. And it's very true. We carry that weight on our shoulders. So when we have that shame show up, the best remedy for shame, and it's not just to understand, so it's becoming aware and then it's understanding, because sometimes we carry shame for the things that we shouldn't have shame for. I don't think we should experience shame on a heavy level for anything. But there's those times where we mess up and we know we messed up. But then there's the times where we feel shameful for something that isn't really something we should feel shameful for, but it's something in our society that we've projected as that's a shameful thing to have in your life or to feel. So an example of that would be battling with some mental illness. That's a perfect example. So having depression or anxiety. A lot of times we're getting better as a society, but a lot of times that's seen as a shameful thing. Like, we don't talk about our issues, we don't talk about our problems, we don't talk about how we're struggling, because as much as we want to project that we're all there and it's all, come talk to me, everything's fine, we can support each other and stuff, it's not really the case. A lot of times people look at you like, well, you can't keep it together, you can't do this, like, what's wrong with you? And so we carry that shame of like, well, why can't I get out of bed? Why can't I, get the things done I need to get done? Why can't I stay focused? Why am I so tired? Why am I struggling? Why can I not do the things that other people seem to be doing fine? So we carry shame for something that really isn't, quote unquote, our fault. So it's not your fault if you're struggling with mental illness or you're struggling with physical illness and it's affecting you. It is not your fault that you have things that come up in your life that are struggles. It's just a part of life, and we need to stop shaming each other for having these hard times. Because I think what happens is when we start to feel that shame, it creates more of this cycle. So we feel shameful, so then we go to turn to the things that make us numb. And that could be alcohol, that could be food, that could be various different things, sitting on the couch, not doing anything, hiding away from society, whatever. So there's so many different aspects that keep us hidden from and numb from dealing with it, because it's an uncomfortable feeling. So because we carry this in our heart center, the number one thing to release this shame is forgiveness and compassion. Forgiveness for yourself, compassion for yourself, compassion that we're all here figuring it out as we go. And there is no manual, there is no knowing what's going to happen in your life, and the things that are going to show up in your life. There is no perfect way, and we like to project that there's like the right and wrong, and there's not. There's so many different levels of right and wrong, and it's perspective, and it's how we see the world at that time. Sometimes makes sense to do the things we do, and then maybe we look back later and go, wow, like I didn't do what I would do now, if I knew better back then. And so forgiveness, forgiving yourself for not always making the right decisions, for maybe hurting people that you love, forgiving the people that have given you shame and projected shame on you. So whether that is sexual abuse or like verbal or physical abuse, whether it's somebody else just going through their own stuff and projecting that stuff on you. So forgiving them for the fact that they didn't know how to deal with their own stuff at the time, and they carried so much shame that they felt they needed to release it onto someone else. So that's a hard one sometimes. That has many, many, many layers too, which we can talk about in other videos, but it is kind of the foundation is forgiving, and finding compassion for yourself, that you're doing the best you can in the moment with the situations that are thrown your way. You're doing the best you can with what you know at the time. And we're always growing and learning new ways and new things. So it's okay to recognize that you did what you could at the time. So shame is a big one, a heavy one to deal with, and forgiveness and compassion really helps to neutralize that energy, helps to move that energy out so that we can create more space for healing to occur, because there is healing that comes along with shame, and it takes time. So being even compassionate that it takes time for these things to kind of work through, and to forgive and to find compassion on many different levels. So that's one big aspect of moving that energy out. So it's recognizing that you're experiencing it, understanding if it's yours or someone else's, and if it is something that is yours, understanding is it something that you wish you would have done better or different, or noticing is it something that's out of your control and you're just doing the kind of the best you can to cope with whatever is coming your way. And if it is something that you've messed up on, forgive yourself and find compassion. And I always say, the best remedy is to really show, when you've hurt somebody, validating their feelings, apologizing, and just helping to move that energy out for them and help to heal them. Because we can, as much as we like, it's nice to pretend that we don't do this, but I have done it before. I've put my shame on other people, and it's hard to recognize that, but finding forgiveness for yourself and compassion. And I think that when we start to do that, we start to break those bonds, those cycles. So what happens is that when we start to feel shame, we go to the things that numb us. And those can be addictions, like we've already talked about. And then that perpetuates more shame. So then we sit in the shame and we go, oh, why did I drink so much last night? I shouldn't have done that. And then what do? You say, screw it. I'll just do it tonight again because I feel so shameful. I need to numb that. And then you go and you do that, and then you wake up feeling shameful again. And so it continues this cycle around and round. And I think the only way to break that, besides becoming aware of the shame and understanding where it's coming from and working through it, is to have that love and compassion and forgiveness for yourself. And finding people and support systems that can help to open up the conversation in a very safe and loving way. This can be hard. It takes time to find people that, you know, are very non-judgmental, non-judgmental, and that can hold space for you. But when you do find a few people, or even like there are so many different modalities like Reiki and even yoga classes or meditation classes that can hold space for you to be able to work through some of those things. So having even a wider support system to professionals, holistic professionals that work with energy and work with that stuff. Therapy is really good as well to help work through that stuff. So yeah, so shame is a heavy topic, but it's something that I think is so important to talk about. And I think as we start to work through our own shame, we can begin to heal, and then we can show up for the world around us in a more compassionate and loving way. Because we know what it's like to be there. You know, we so easily forget when we look at other people. Sometimes we judge them and we're like, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. But we forget that we were there too. It might have been a different situation, but it's the same emotions, the same feelings. So we've all been there. We've all gone through this. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about this stuff, and so that we can start to release these shameful things that we carry. Which is just damaging our own lives, our own healing journey, and the world as a collective. Because if we're all sitting and suffering, how good are we to this earth? How good are we to this collective energy? How good are we to our kids and the future generations, right? We can't do the jobs we need to do to create a better world, because we should always be leaving this place better than when we came, whether that's energetic, whether that's environmental, whether that's whatever. Breaking the old bonds, the old traumas from even previous generations. So yeah, make that decision now. You know, we know better. We have internet, we have connections, we have books, we have so much access to information and how we can find that healing. So definitely take this opportunity and realize like we can start to move to a better place by releasing this heavy, yucky, heavy energy of shame. So that's kind of all I want to talk about today. I hope that kind of made sense as I ramble. And these videos are kind of going to just be me rambling, because I have so many thoughts and so many things that are hard to write into like a blog. Like, I love writing, but it's just hard to fit everything I want to say into a blog. So it's kind of nice just to sit down and have a chat and kind of get it off my chest and share information in hopes that, you know, it might help you work through some of your own stuff, because really that's what we're here for. We're here to help each other. Like, and I want to be able to share my journey, even the stuff that maybe is uncomfortable even for me to share, because I carry my own shame as well. So as I work through that, I'm able to show up for you guys better and be able to share my journey in hopes that it might help you on your journey. So I'm going to leave it at that today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.